Hello, my pseudonym is Nowachi, and I'm a human behind this channel. The script for this video, as well as its editing, is entirely my own work. The original concept for the images I use is also mine, and I rely on artificial intelligence to bring them to life. I also use an AI-generated voice to protect my privacy. I hope you enjoy this video. All of us who are Jehovah's Witnesses have memorized what John 8 verse 44 says, "You are from your father the devil, and you wish to do the desires of your father." That one was a murderer when he began, and he did not stand fast in the truth because truth is not in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks according to his own disposition, because he is a liar and the father of the lie. With the air of moral superiority that characterizes Jehovah's Witnesses, they often apply this verse to anyone who doesn't think like them. They rarely stop to consider whether their own organization is actually known for always telling the truth. In this video, we're going to talk about the lies Jehovah's Witnesses tell in court, focusing on two key questions. First, what evidence is there that Jehovah's Witnesses actually engage in this practice? Second, why do they do it? Before we begin, don't forget to click the like button so the algorithm shares this content with more people. And if you enjoy my work and want to support critical thinking and common sense, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's go straight to the most recent case. What you're seeing on screen is Judge Robert Lasnik's opinion, in which he upholds the sanction issued by the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit against Philip Brumley, none other than the General Counsel for the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. In other words, he's the top dog, the highest-ranking attorney on Jehovah's Witnesses' legal team. And don't go thinking this is some quote-unquote worldly lawyer hire by the witnesses. In fact, his experience as a Jehovah's Witness was just featured in the July 2025 study edition of the Watchtower. The link to download that document is in the description of this video. Why did a judge sanction this man? The cited document says it was for submitting a signed affidavit that demonstrated a reckless disregard for providing an accurate and truthful accounting of facts relevant to determining whether the court had personal jurisdiction over defendant Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, in plain language, for lying under oath with his hand on the Bible. Reading the document carefully, we realize this is an appeals case in which the Watchtower is being accused of covering up the kind of abuse you already know about. And since it involves minors, YouTube doesn't like us mentioning it. In this case, the Watchtower argued they had nothing to do with it, since the incident happened in Montana, and according to them, congregations in Montana don't receive instruction from the Watchtower on how to handle these cases. In short, don't ask me anything. I have nothing to do with it. Go talk to the elders who handled the case. What evidence did the Watchtower present to show they didn't know what was going on or that this wasn't about them? The only piece of evidence submitted was Mr. Brumley's sworn statement saying that's how things were, because, as the Watchtower's legal representative, he was vouching for it. Well, turns out they produced correspondence that showed the opposite. The Watchtower was super involved in this case. What was Philip Brumley's defense? Did he convincingly prove it was all a mix-up? His defense was that when he gave his statement, he did so as a witness, not as a lawyer. In other words, yes, I lied, but I lied as a witness in the case, not as the Watchtower's attorney. The court's response was, don't play dumb. If he was the Watchtower's general counsel, then his testimony was given in the capacity of what he is, the highest-ranking lawyer at the Watchtower. In other words, there's no question. Philip Brumley himself owned the lie. His argument was that they couldn't fine him because he lied as a witness. What do you think? Is this man a son of his father the devil, like John 8 verse 44 says? Let's move on to the second example. Jehovah's Christian Witnesses of Spain versus the Spanish Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses. In this case, Jehovah's Witnesses were the ones filing the lawsuit. They claimed that saying they're victims of Jehovah's Witnesses was an attack on their honor, and among other things, they requested the dissolution of the Victims Association. The latter stated that they considered themselves victims, among other reasons, because some of their members had suffered social and family ostracism after being removed from the organization or after disassociating. Anibal Matos, spokesperson for Jehovah's Christian Witnesses of Spain, said that whether or not someone talks to those who've been removed is a matter of personal conscience. Meanwhile, the victim's lawyers showed, using the organized book, that the Watchtower instructs family members to avoid unnecessary association with someone who has been removed. The witness's spokesperson in Spain, Anibal Matos, said that family members of the expelled could interact with them in cases involving work, illness, or inheritance issues, which didn't even need to be said, since that was already implied in the quote from the organized book the victim's lawyer had cited. So the lawyer asked Anibal Matos whether witness family members could watch a soccer game with the removed one. Anibal Matos responded that the removed ones could attend meetings, pray along with others there, and even request a shepherding call. In other words, he didn't answer the real question and ended by saying that at no point is there any kind of rejection. It's obvious that his strategy was to avoid answering what he was being asked and instead reply with something that would sound nice, thereby confusing the judges, who, of course, don't know Jehovah's Witnesses well enough to pick up on these subtleties. Now, let's use some common sense. If what's being discussed is whether family members of the removed ones can interact with them normally, go to the movies, out to dinner with no excuse, watch a soccer game, and I give an answer in such a way that someone unfamiliar with Jehovah's Witnesses walks away confused, isn't that lying? You be the judge. But it's no surprise Jehovah's Witnesses lost the case. In addition to Anibal Matos' testimony, I'll include in the description of this video another link with clips from the Spanish trial, where Jehovah's Witnesses claim that speaking to someone who's been removed is completely voluntary. Their answers remind me of when the person who studied with me taught me to tell householders that we weren't there to change their religion. That always struck me as incredibly fake, so much so that when I was appointed as an elder, I taught others not to say that to householders. Credit goes to the YouTube channel El Rinson de Emma, which provided the video links I'll leave in the description. Lastly, there's the case of Jeffrey Jackson, a member of the governing body who testified before the Australian Royal Commission. YouTube is full of videos of that hearing. This man's lies were the kind that go like this. Mr. Jackson, are you, the governing body, the only channel God uses to communicate his word? That would be very presumptuous. God can use anyone. Come on. They're not asking whether God can use a congregation member to preach to others. They're asking whether the governing body is the only channel God uses to communicate his word, or whether God might use other religions. In other words, pretend I'm misunderstood so I can say whatever I damn well please and confuse the judges. I encourage you to watch the hearing for yourself, where Mr. Jackson had to be told multiple times to actually answer the question he was being asked. It's no surprise that the result of the Australian Royal Commission's investigation was that Jehovah's Witnesses were found to be negligent in handling the kind of abuse that YouTube doesn't like us to mention, but that involves very young people. What do you think? Is Jeffrey Jackson a son of his father the devil, according to John 8 verse 44? You have the answer. Personally, I think what's most concerning is that, beyond the lies under oath from these men, there's a group of men who, as their name suggests, govern Jehovah's Witnesses, and they clearly show zero compassion or empathy for abuse victims, including the most vulnerable. So, why do Jehovah's Witnesses lie in court? Their statements once again make it clear that the only thing these men care about is the survival of their organization, and, of course, the money that helps it survive. Everything else takes a back seat. God, Jesus, the well-being of their flock, the truth. They don't care. In that, they're no different from any other quote-unquote worldly corporation. Don't forget to share this if you know someone who might find it helpful. And if you want to learn more about Jehovah's Witnesses, click the next link. See you soon.